Now for some analysis, let's bring in the former ambassador to China from Chile. Jorge Heine is at the Quincy Institute. He's also author of The Non-Aligned World, Striking Out in an Era of Great Power Competition. Let me start with something you're very familiar with, China's role on the global stage. It seems to be taking a leading role at the UN with this effort at reforming global governance. How important is that? How needed is reform, do you think?
I think, well, it's very important. And there's a great paradox here at work, Mike. On the one hand, we're going through very difficult times. We're living in a turbulent world of, unheard of changes. And yet the UN, which should be such a significant instrument to, face these global challenges, is in serious financial difficulties. There will be, I understand, 20% cut in the UN budget and all agencies. So, we really need China's input, both organizationally and financially, to make the UN work. The UN is an absolutely central component of global governance and the way forward for a very troubled world.
It seems the U.S. is retreating from these global bodies. How important is it for China to be stepping up? Can they fill the vacuum?
Absolutely. And let me give you only one example that I think is very significant. And this is that in matters of international cooperation and aid, the pattern was for quite a while that on the humanitarian side, Western powers, the US and others, would step in on the softer side of development challenges, say matters like education, health, poverty reduction, and so on. And China had been stepping in on what we might call the hard side, infrastructure, bridges, tunnels, and so on, the BRI and so on. Now, USAID has been closed. Western European nations are cutting back on aid as well. So China has to step in not just on the hard side of development project, but also on the soft side. So it's quite a challenge.
And it's been a champion of the global South too. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Well, we are living in an era in which the global South has come into its own. Countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America are stepping up. There's been an enormous change in the role that the global South plays in the world. Let me give you only one example. By 1970, intra-South trade represented only 20% of global trade. Today, it represents more than 50%. So global South countries are really playing a much more important role, and their partnership with China is very significant.
And can you talk about China's efforts at addressing climate change? And also, as we heard in that report, they've become, as one of the speakers said, most dominant and most serious as a peace actor, taking a big role in the peacekeeping efforts as well.
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, we're living in this extraordinary age in which climate change denialism is coming up with great force in a number of countries, a number of leading countries around the world. Climate change is a reality. We are seeing it on a day-to-day basis. Natural disasters are becoming worse. We see this all the time. The recent hurricane that hit Jamaica was the worst in a long time. And in that regard, China is playing a very important role in climate change, and also, of course, in the whole energy transition towards a green economy that is such a significant part of fighting climate change. On peace and security, China, of course, has for a long time been a very important actor. Of all the P5 members in the UN, China is the one that has had the largest number of blue helmets participating in peacekeeping operations. Again, these operations need a lot of funding, and so China must come through with that as well now.
Author and former Ambassador Jorge Heine, thank you so much for your insights. Appreciate it.